Hey, listen, if you like using social media to get inspired or motivated or learn something or just generally stay engaged, make sure to shoot me a follow on Instagram at @HunterLThompson_. I recently launched a business account on there, trying to get as many followers as quickly as possible. Why? Not because I just like the big numbers, but because a little birdie told me that Instagram has allowed them to reach out to some really high-profile guests to get them to come on their show. And I really want to do that. We've been able to get a lot of quality guests, but there are also people out there that have ignored me for years. And so I want to get as many followers as I can as quickly as possible so I can reach out to them and get their attention. So that's what I want. Also, a big plus, if you do go over to Instagram and shoot me a follow at HunterLThompson_, you will instantly be entered to win a brand new iPhone 11 Pro. As soon as I get to 1,000 followers, I'm going to give one out. So go over there and do it. Here's the thing. Right now, all over the world, there is a 24-hour per day networking event going on that's basically free and takes place on LinkedIn. Genuine, meaningful, and important relationships are being created. And if you're not using the tools that are at your disposal, you're likely making a mistake because it's not just about likes and comments. Our guest for today talks about how the social media platform, LinkedIn in particular, the algorithm is designed for very meaningful relationships, meaning you can grow, you can learn, you can network, you can connect, all of which are really powerful, especially during times of uncertainty. I've said it before many times. Hopefully it was taken seriously then, and I feel like it will be taken much more seriously now, which is that it's not all about the strategies when things go sideways in business. It's about who you know, who you can rely on. What relationships have you already created so that if you have a problem, you can solve that? And so LinkedIn is a very scalable way to develop some of those important relationships. And I can tell you personally, while it hasn't been a focus of our business, LinkedIn, in particular, Adam Carswell, who does a lot of LinkedIn stuff, has driven a lot of traffic to the show, has driven a lot of traffic to our mentorship program. And on a risk-adjusted basis, it's just very, very favorable. So in this episode, we're going to talk all about LinkedIn. Number one, whether you should be focused on volume, number of followers, number of likes, number of comments, or specific one-on-one relationships. Both are interesting strategies. Which one does our guest advocate? I'm going to talk about how you can, quote, slide into someone's DMs on LinkedIn without coming off as spammy. I know a lot of you have probably received some of those spammy LinkedIn messages. They're not cool. You don't want your brand to look like that. How can you overcome that? And on a related note, how you can or whether or not you should use VAs or even bots to help automate some of your LinkedIn presence. There's ways to do this in a way that's appropriate. There's ways to do this in a way that'll get you banned from LinkedIn. So, hope you enjoy the episode. Interesting topic. It's a cool tool that you definitely should be contemplating using. Thanks again. How's it going, everyone? Our guest for today is Joe Applebaum, who is the CEO of Ajax Union, a business-to-business marketing agency based in Brooklyn, New York. He is a business strategist, marketing expert, and certified Google trainer. Joe enjoys speaking and writing about marketing, business networking, and personal development in his seminars, webinars, and articles. He is the host of the popular podcast, The Breakthrough Maze. He's also the author of 3 books, including High Energy Secrets, which is his most recent book about how he lost 95 pounds, and also takes flying selfies, which we're definitely going to talk about some of those things today. The big picture that we want to talk about is expanding, growing, really creating a massive, massive following, and also building legitimate relationships through LinkedIn. So Joe, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's talk about LinkedIn to start off this conversation. Why is this the vehicle or the platform that you have focused on and also seen significant results from?
There's a lot of social media platforms out there, right? There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there is Twitter, there's TikTok, which is really blowing up. But there's only one professional social media platform. There's only one that's specifically geared for professionals, and that is LinkedIn. So if you're a professional, if you're in B2B, if you're a sales executive, if you are responsible for generating business, if you want more influence from people that are in the business world like executives, there's no better platform to be able to reach those types of people, to get more referrals, to get more clients, to stay top of mind, to build influence, to build authority than LinkedIn. And for some reason, most human beings are ignoring LinkedIn. There are 650 million members on LinkedIn and 40% are logging in every day. So there's a lot of activity, but you have to think about who's on there. Instead of going after the billions of people that are just standard people that are there to have fun, friends, family, like Facebook, LinkedIn is there for inspiration, for business, for referrals, for networking. So it's very powerful to be able to leverage a platform like this. And Microsoft's goal is to get LinkedIn to have 3 billion members. So right now, they're very, very small compared to where they will be in 10 years from now.
Interesting. And I agree. They've done a really good job. And so the community has as well done a very good job of keeping LinkedIn professional. And it really is, I don't know if it's the algorithm or it's just what people are posting, but it's a lot of content you will not see otherwise, in the sense that it's a lot of news articles. It's a lot of articles people have written themselves. It's a lot of content that is pretty curated. I think it's a combination of the algorithm and also the people that you're actually most interacting with. But I think they've done a really good job of that. And that's obviously a very audacious goal, but given my experience with LinkedIn, I think it's perfectly reasonable. I'm constantly growing my network, constantly getting requests, et cetera. So I have done a lot of things in business. Sometimes they have worked out. Sometimes they've been massive failures. From my perspective, the big difference between those that have worked out and those that have been massive failures are I had very clear goals with the ones that worked out. I had a very clear strategy. How do you create a strategy around LinkedIn? Because we can get sucked into just playing around in the newsfeed, liking random posts.
Lots of people are on LinkedIn, and what they're doing is they're hoarding connections. You alluded to this before, where you're like, oh, it's great, I'm adding connections. And you have close to 5,000 people that are connected to you on LinkedIn. And most people, they're like, I'm so excited. There's so much opportunity. I'm connected to thousands and thousands and thousands of people, or hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are professionals, CEOs, whatever. And I'm like, what are you going to do with those people? And they just look at me blankly. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know what I should be doing with those people, except for collecting their names and being connected to them. Well, collecting names and being connected to people is not going to help you generate revenue. And if your goal is to generate revenue, then you got to figure out, what are you going to be doing specifically? Now, most people are on LinkedIn, they're lurkers. You know what a lurker is?
Those two watch but don't do any real engagement.
Yeah, they're not becoming part of it. They're just kind of there like it's CNN. If you treat a networking event like it's CNN, you're not going to get any benefits from the networking event. You have to be part of the conversation. So instead of lurking, there are actually 3 things that we tell people, 3 very practical things that you could be doing, even if you only have 15 minutes a day. So if you're listening to this, take a pen and a paper and write this down. There's posting, there's engaging, and then there's messaging. And we break this down inside our Evergreen LinkedIn Foundations course. We have Evergreen Networking, where we teach people how to go from a lurker to an influencer in just 15 minutes a day. And if you're going to be taking action, instead of just spending your whole day on the feed, instead of just adding connections randomly, there are people that you're already connected to on LinkedIn, but they're not seeing you. They're not remembering you. You're not staying top of mind with them. And that's because you're not posting on a daily basis. You might say, Joe, why do I have to post daily? It sounds like it's too much. A post dies after 24 hours. So if you post something, that post will only live for 24 hours. So you have to post something every day in order for people to have the opportunity to potentially see you on their feed. And so when most people are going to be on their feed, they're going to be lurking. You're going to post something, you're going to see hundreds of people will see that post. And what's going to end up happening is, if it's a valuable post, if it's inspiration, if it's engagement, if it's education, if it's something that actually has value, then people are going to remember you and you're going to have more visibility. The second thing you need to do in order for you to be successful on LinkedIn is you need to engage, because engagement is about credibility. Right now, you're just an avatar on LinkedIn. You're just a face with a name on LinkedIn. But when you engage, you're a personality. And I want you to build trust, because people will do business with other people that they know, right? You have visibility. They remember you. But they also like and they trust. They have to trust you. And in order for them to trust you, they have to know that you're real. And so engaging and liking and commenting on people's stuff and replying to comments on posts is so important, because that builds trust and that makes you become a real person. I looked at your posts and I see that you have some posts that have 11 likes and some posts that have 9 likes and 17 likes, but I rarely see you commenting and mentioning other people's names and stuff like that. And that's a big missed opportunity for you and for many other people. And then I went back a couple of weeks back and I see that you posted this week's episode, and quite a few people commented on your post, but you didn't even reply to those comments because you are not building relationship with those people at this time. And so if you can shift and even spend 2 or 3 minutes and actually start responding to the comments that people leave you, you will start building more trust. And the third thing you have to do, they say if you build it, they will come, but it's not true. Hunter, I'm here to tell you, if you build it, they will not come. I built it many times and nobody came. You have to message people. You have to reach out. You have to market yourself. That means you have to slide into the DM in a non-creepy way. No sales, no wasting people's time with random messages like, how are you, to people that you don't know well. No long messages, because 57% of people are watching LinkedIn or going onto LinkedIn from their cell phone. So instead, you want to be using our process we call the greeting, feeding, and meeting process, which is first you greet somebody, kind of like you would at a bar. Hey, what's going on? What brings you here? Or happy Thanksgiving or happy birthday or whatever. You want to be able to break the ice with building some rapport by greeting them and not asking them for their time necessarily, but just kind of like acknowledging that they exist. Thanks for connecting on LinkedIn. Looking forward to getting to know you. Stuff like that. Hope that you're healthy. I'm doing well. Things like that, especially in this weather and this time today. And then feeding them. There's lots of different ways to feed people. People love appreciation. People love information. People love introductions. They love invitations to things. There's lots of different ways. We teach people exactly what they need to do to actually feed their connections. And once the conversation begins, because you built rapport by greeting them, and then you fed them with all the different ways that you can feed people on LinkedIn, now you can ask for a meeting. So greeting, feeding, and meeting. And that meeting is where the rubber hits the road, because that's really where people get to know you. You get to know them. You end up referring business to them. They refer business to you. And that's where the whole thing happens. So the reason why you want to post is to stay top of mind. The reason why you want to engage is to build trust. And the reason why you want to message is to actually get people on the phone and build those real relationships.
Man, I really appreciate that. And I actually appreciate the feedback on my own LinkedIn, because I didn't know I was going to be able to get a consultation here on the live, but I really appreciate it. And that's actually a really great idea. I actually really do know a ton of the people that follow me on LinkedIn, not only just from LinkedIn, but from conferences, and a lot of them are investors, and I should be nurturing them more significantly, because I think it's a great way to spend that extra 15 minutes a day. So I really appreciate that feedback. Let's circle back to something that probably a lot of people, when they heard it, they start to feel a little bit cringy. The word, or the world, I should say, of messaging. That's where a lot of people start to feel like they'll start to get you some pushback on whether or not they should do that. How do you phrase that initial message? That initial message is so critical. And obviously, when I get on LinkedIn, I see tons and tons of messages that I'm never going to respond to because it's just clearly spam, or it's not something that I'm interested in pursuing. How do you not be one of those guys? Or is it okay to be one of those guys because it's a volume game?
No, first of all, it's not a volume game. So when it comes to LinkedIn, it is not a volume game. Imagine Adam Carswell. You send him a random message trying to sell him something. It's not going to work. Or Kyle Carker, or Karina Guerrero, or Doug Noon, or Joe Gomez. These are people that liked your recent post on LinkedIn. You're not going to message them, Marcus Crane, Ryan Smith, Michael Flight. You're not going to randomly message them something that says, hey, buy my product, or come to my whatever. No, you have to first build rapport. So if somebody just connected with you, the best thing you can do is thank them for connecting with you on LinkedIn, and don't ask them for anything. Don't ask for anything. You want to build a reputation with people where you're not that sleazy person that's constantly asking for my time. So instead, just literally start nurturing them by thanking them for connecting with you on LinkedIn. If you're connected with somebody for a while, you can send them a greeting. Let's say, for example, it's Valentine's Day. You can send somebody a message, say, hey, happy Valentine's Day. I was just thinking about my connections that I absolutely love, and I wanted to send you some love. So happy Valentine's Day. Again, very low touch. If you see it's somebody's birthday, greet them with a happy birthday. You know that most people, when they send them a happy birthday, they're shocked. They're shocked because even their mother didn't wish them a happy birthday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
They got a happy birthday with me. Today, somebody responded to my happy birthday. He said, Joe, I forgot it was my birthday. Thank you for reminding me. I really appreciate you very much.
Yeah, I really like that. The happy birthday thing is a no-brainer. Is there a way to actually search for people's birthdays on LinkedIn?
There isn't a way to search for people's birthdays, but if you believe it or not, if you look at your notifications panel, LinkedIn will notify you when it's somebody's birthday. Boom. So every single day around 5 a.m. Eastern, LinkedIn sends me a notification. It says, click here, and it shows me all the people that have their birthdays today. And then I can click on each one and send them a default happy birthday message. Or in my case, I send a custom happy birthday message so they know that I didn't just click the happy birthday button and send them a happy birthday message. Sometimes I send an emoji. If it's a person I know really well, I might say, hey, I remember your birthday from last year. It's crazy how drunk we got, or whatever it is, or send them an emoji or a photo of me and them. A connection that I probably don't know well, but I want to build a relationship with.
Yep.
I'll send them a standard customized happy birthday message, and that will give them the feeling that I really care about them. And then hopefully they respond with a thumbs up or a sure or a great or thank you so much, really appreciate it. And then once I greeted them and I got a response, then I go into the feeding process, which is I start feeding them by showing them some appreciation, by mentioning something that they've done, by asking them if they want to come to an event that I'm hosting, by inviting them to something else. Maybe I'm doing a webinar or something and I ask them, would you like information about this? I'm happy to send it to you, or a recent article. You know, the key is don't just shove information down people's throats. Keep it really short and have a real conversation. When you're having real conversations with real friends, you don't sit there and create a whole paragraph of stuff.
Right.
You send a sentence or two. It's a text, you know?
Yeah, I really like that. I really like your answer about the volume game. It's not a volume game. There are ways to just, spam people over and over again, just sending messages, hey, click here to schedule a meeting, click here to download my report, whatever. And it's just, from my perspective, it's not aligned with my brand. It's not aligned with my personality. And I'm much more on the other side of that spectrum. I'm, as you can see, I wasn't really dedicating a lot of time towards LinkedIn. It was just a matter of, having another platform to share some of the things that I work on in terms of content creation, et cetera. But to your point, it's basically a 24-hour networking event that should be taken seriously. When I go to a networking event, the last thing that I'm there to do is to kind of spray and pray with my business cards. That's completely useless. It's just, hey, can you throw this away for me? That's all I'm doing there. So what I want to do is if I can build a meaningful relationship with two people at a networking event that I believe that I can either add a lot of value to or that they can add a lot of value to my life, that is a win for me. And I go in with the intention of trying to find not only if they can add value to me, if I can add value to them, but a way that I can connect them to someone that can really help their career. And if you can do all of those three things, it's a massive, massive win.
There's a big difference between prospecting, marketing, and networking. And this is something we teach all our students. People confuse prospecting and networking, and people confuse networking and marketing. Networking is not marketing and it's not prospecting. Networking is very different. Prospecting is when you're out on the prowl looking for a prospect. You might be doing cold email. You might be doing cold calling. There's a lot. You might be at a trade show. That's prospecting. You're looking for a direct prospect. Marketing is where you're looking to get the word out. You're looking for more visibility. Maybe it's direct response marketing where you're looking for people that are looking to buy right now. Or maybe it's branding where you're looking for people just to establish yourself as a brand. But marketing is not networking. Networking is exactly what you said. Networking is building a meaningful relationship with somebody, figuring out who's an ideal client for them, how you can add value to them, staying top of mind with them, and building that relationship so that you get referrals from them by giving first. Givers gain. So you have to learn how to do that. That's why you can't have a volume game when it comes to networking because it doesn't work. You can't build a meaningful relationship in a volume way. Relationships happen one-on-one, not one-on-many, one-on-one. You can say top of mind with the net marketing component of networking, which is posting and engaging. But in terms of actually building that relationship, getting on the phone, meeting with somebody, that happens one-on-one. And that's not really something that's scalable. And, between me and you, Hunter, it doesn't need to be scalable because you're not looking for 1 million clients. You're looking for 10 new clients, for 30 new clients.
Right.
For 100 new clients, not for 1 billion new clients.
Yeah, that's so true. I did a podcast about that exact topic. It's, a few hundred clients can change your life. 1,000 can make you extremely wealthy in this space. And it really is not a volume game. I like that. Now, with that in mind, though, because of the fact that this is time consuming to a certain extent, 15 minutes is hard to come by in my day, to be honest. How do you use VAs to facilitate some of this, whether it be the marketing component or the interaction component?
There are very specific things that you can outsource to VAs, and there are very specific things that you cannot outsource to virtual assistants. A virtual assistant will be terrible at writing content. This is the reality of it. Creating content is not something they're going to be good at doing, especially not in your voice. So we teach people how to create a content calendar and an asset library that you can then give your VA and they could post on your behalf. A lot of the content that I post, I don't even post. I have a virtual assistant post. Now you might say, Joe, why don't you use Buffer? Why don't you use Hootsuite? Why don't you use Hey Orca? Why don't you use HubSpot to post for you? That's because there are certain things like video that you have to manually post when you're using the native platform on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a VA do it. Also, if you're going to be mentioning people inside a post, a programmatic post is not going to allow you to mention people and not allow you to leave comments right after within the first hour and engage. So there are very specific things that I want to have an admin do for me. And we actually have a list, a virtual assistant list, a checklist of what they can do and what they cannot do. I'm going to give you guys 3 things that you can have your VA do for you. Obviously, you can't have them write content, but you can have them post. You can't have them be on the phone with people on your behalf, right? You have to have that conversation, but you could have them reply to people when they look at your profile. If you have a LinkedIn Premium account, you can see the last 90 days of people that look at your profile, and I give a list of scripts to my VA to log in every single day, sometimes 2 times a day, and just send people messages. Hey, thanks for checking out my profile. If there's something I can do for you, please let me know. I would love to set up a meeting with you. If it's like a CEO or something, she would send that message. If not, say, if you want to check out my latest webinar, happy to send it to you. So it depends on who the person is.
Okay.
But they came to my profile. And so my VA does that every single day. She also takes a look at my most recent posts. If sometimes I'll post things myself. If I have an idea, I'll quickly write something up, and then she'll edit the post to make sure that there's no typos and so on. She'll go there and document things in my activity dashboard so that we can later go back and track what worked and what did not work. She can add very specific second-degree connections within a certain funnel. There's lots of different things that you can have your virtual assistant do, and there are many things that they should not do. So having an actual written strategy is very important. Back to what you said before, setting your goals and actually having a strategy is really important. And by the way, a strategy doesn't have to be complicated. We teach people how to put a strategy on the back of a napkin, and it includes the following 3 things. Step number 1 is understand what your goal is. Do you want to generate revenue? How many clients? What type of clients? All that type of stuff. Then who are you targeting? Who's your most ideal client and who's your most ideal referral partner? And number 3 is what are you going to say to them? What is the message that you want to say to them? What are their pains and gains and all that type of stuff? So when you put together the goal, the target, and the message, that's your actual strategy. And having that written down together with a content calendar, together with an asset library, with a connections dashboard, with an activity tracker, that's going to be a game changer to allow you to leverage assistance so you don't have to spend your time doing it.
Love it, man. I really like the idea of a content calendar. A lot of people get stuck on what they should be talking about. It's because, in my opinion, they're trying to constantly come up with ideas on the spot. And I have had a lot of success time blocking these tasks out and stream of consciousing, 100 potential content ideas, and then taking 30 that are really good and putting those in a calendar so that you can come up with one a day, or then going and creating the 30 and then posting those over on a daily basis. What's your strategy for creating that content calendar?
Well, step number 1 is you have to collect a collection of stories. Everybody has stories. And in our course, we actually have a module called Stories where we teach people how to come up with their own stories. And stories are everything from like case studies to your history, to how things get done, to the questions that your customers ask you and answers. So having a collection of stories and understanding how to build that out is really important. But also having a list of videos, a list of images, a list of articles, both that you create and that you curate from other people, a list of infographics, and putting those into an asset library. It's very hard to create a content calendar if you don't first have an asset library. So putting together a list of assets that you own, and again, you don't need millions of assets. You can literally have 60 assets that you repurpose 5 times a week, and you repurpose them every 90 days. You don't have to go crazy in terms of assets. So I always tell people, what are your top 10 assets? What are your top 10 videos, top 10 images, top 10 text, top 10 quotes, top 10 articles that you wrote, top 10 articles that you curate? What are the top 10 questions people ask you? If you put this information together in an asset library, organized one time, you will have enough content for the rest of your life.
That's really powerful. And I completely agree. I think that some people make the mistake that they post a piece of content and it has a lot of success and they go, boom, I'm knocked it out of the park, moving on. And if something is a knock out of the park, 2 things should be done. Number 1, you should repost it later. By the way, no one's going to remember. It doesn't matter how good it was. And the people that do are going to be happy to see it again. Number 2, create something that's similar to it. Like use that as inspiration for something else. So, if we have a quote that, like a quote that I said in a speech, and I create an Instagram photo of me with the quote next to myself. And there is a lot of positive feedback, a lot of comments, a lot of likes, a lot of fire emojis. That shows me, number one, I should repost that later down the road. Number two, I may need to do an article about that specific topic that I'm talking about because it's clear that my audience is aligned with what I'm talking about. How do you go about kind of repurposing content and reusing it, and then maybe even cross-collateralizing it, using it in other ways? That was an example of an image, but then I'm turning it into an article. Maybe I'll do a podcast about it as well.
So this is what I always teach our students. Step number one is write a first dirty draft of an article on a topic. Because I always like starting with an article. So a first dirty draft might be 1,000 words. In your case, what's the most common question people ask you in your world? What's a popular question that people ask you?
Something that comes up a lot is, why should I invest passively as opposed to actively?
Oh my God, such a great question, especially when the market's in turmoil. So why should I invest passively instead of actively? And you'd write 1,000 words on that. Here's the pros, here's the cons, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. And you'll just basically take everything out of your head. You might even include a few stories of people that invested actively and maybe beat the market over a short period of time, but over a long period of time, they didn't, whatever. You might have some stories like that. Mm-hmm. And so what you end up doing is you have this really long article, and then you proofread the article, maybe you make a couple quotes out of it, and then you post the article on LinkedIn. So now you have a LinkedIn article. Then you take that article, and over the course of the next 10 weeks, you'll take elements of the article and you'll start making them into posts. Because an article just sits on your profile. An article doesn't get out there. Nobody will see it unless you create posts, and in the post, you promote the article after. So now you have an article, which is one piece of content, and you have 10 different posts that you promote 10 different weeks. Then each week, when you promote the posts, let's say on Monday, you promote a post, which is an element of the article. On Thursday, you'll make a video that talks about that specific post. And then you say, for the whole article, click below and check out our recent post that we posted about the specific thing. So now each week you have a post, you have an article, and you have a video. In addition to that, is you'll go into Canva, and we have a tutorial on how to use Canva, which is a tool that allows you to create simple social media graphics. And then you'll create quotes from the article. Maybe you'll create 15 different quotes from the article, and then you'll make them graphics with your image and your logo with a call to action on it. And you'll turn that into 15 different images that you can put on LinkedIn 15 different days, besides the video, besides the 10 videos and the 10 posts. In addition to doing that, maybe you'll schedule a monthly webinar where you discuss that specific topic, and you literally go through the article on the webinar. And then you turn that webinar into short 20 to 30 second clips. There are different parts of the webinar that were interesting, that you said something interesting. And now you're going around in circles with your images and your webinar and your content and your posts and the article. And you're like, maybe turn it into an infographic, maybe turn it into an ebook. And you took one question that people ask you and you created a monster amount of content for 90 days.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. And it's just very, very efficient. And the idea that you can repurpose content across multiple mediums and touch people with different senses. So some people like to see videos. Some people like only to do audio. Some people like to see just a picture and a quote. And each person's going to be more interested in different mediums like that. They'll be more likely to share it. And there's no reason not to do it because you've already done the hard work, which is actually, number one, being an expert. Number two, actually creating the content. So there's no reason that you shouldn't be implementing this. You mentioned a couple apps that you use to facilitate this. Canva is one. What are some of the other apps that you use to really streamline and make this system as efficient as possible?
I love using Zoom. I don't know if you're familiar with Zoom, although we are on Zoom right now. So Zoom.us, their stock is, did you look at their stock? Do you see what's going on with Zoom?
No, I haven't followed it.
Oh, so now it's really going up because everybody's using Zoom for virtual conferences.
Oh.
So Zoom is really easy to use. There's other tools like Uber Conference to like record calls and so on if you want to be able to record calls. There is InShot on your phone that you can download as an app so you can edit videos.
Is that InShot?
Yeah, InShot. There's AutoCap if you want to add captions automatically to your videos. You can use a free app on Android called AutoCap, AUTO CAP, CAP.
Okay.
There is a artificial intelligence tool called Temi, Temi.com, TEMI, where you can upload your video and it turns it into an article for you.
Whoa.
It's like 10 cents per minute.
Great.
Really powerful. Yeah. And they have the human version of Temi.com is rev.com. So if you want a better one, which costs $1 a minute instead of 10 cents a minute, it's rev.com, RUV.com. And they basically create the captions for your videos, or they take your videos and turn it into an article. Really powerful. So those are just some tools that we're using on a regular basis. There's another tool called Headliner that will take your podcast and turn it into a video with really nice words. You know, like the way that they have the audio of your voice moving with a bunch of waggy lines, like a bunch of lines on the screen, visual lines of your voice talking. So you can make clips on headliner.com. And there's a lot of tools out there. We actually have a webinar that we recently did called 30 technology tools that work with your LinkedIn. And we basically list them all out. And inside our mastery course, we give people access to we have over 30 hours of webinars that we provide people. And people can see some free webinars on evergreen.com. That's EVYRGREEN.com.
Great. Man, that was a ton. We started at Canva and ended all the way up at Headliner. That was awesome. So I'm sure that people are going to go back and rewind that and listen to that over and over again. So thanks for sharing that. Let me ask you something. You've probably pushed and pulled the LinkedIn algorithm a little bit to find out what's most efficient and what's kind of over the line. Have you ever had some challenges with like spam or either being frozen on your account because you've done something that LinkedIn viewed as being too spammy?
Yeah. So from time to time, LinkedIn will punish me if I push them to their limits. I try to do all different types of things, like send thousands of connection requests at one given time.
Yeah.
I have something called the Gmail hack, which allows you to hack into be able to add 2,500 connection requests at one shot at one given time. So there's lots of different things that I've tried in the past. You know, the key is to test the limits, but at the same time, not to use automation. So whenever I use automation, there is LinkedIn Helper, there's Linked Helper, there's there's like lots of different automation tools that you can use out there. LinkedIn doesn't like that. It's against their terms and conditions because it really uses up their resources as this, if you're doing like 1,000 page views a day and you're doing lots of different searches and connection requests 24/7 and automatic commenting and posting and all types of stuff. Yep. And it ends up taking up a lot of their resources and ends up messing up with their servers. So they don't like it. So they end up basically freezing your account and giving you one warning. And if you do it once too many times, they will actually ban your account. So I've never had my account actually banned because when I get the warning, I actually heed the warning and I apologize to them and then I don't do it again. But sometimes if you have too many pending connection requests, one common thing that we see with our students is that they send too many connection requests and they have too many that are pending. So they end up getting banned from sending new connection requests without an email address. So you can actually contact support and they'll remove the ban as long as you remove the pending connection request. You can actually go into your connection request, click on My Network, click on Connection Requests, click on Pending, Send Connection Requests, and you can actually remove all the old ones. You probably don't want to have more than a few hundred. Some people say it's up to 3,000 you can have pending, but I would rather not have more than 1,000 pending connection requests at one given time. Probably shouldn't be sending more than 150 connection requests a day. The limit is probably somewhere around 300. And also don't send the same message more than 50 times a day. What we do is when we're sending messages out to thousands of people, we'll have 25 different messages and we'll alternate between one message and the other. And then we'll change a variable inside the message. So again, I don't know what scale you want to be doing this stuff, but ultimately this is about building one-on-one relationships with people. And if you want to take this seriously and you want to be able to hack the algorithm, I can show you how to do that. But if you're just doing stuff at a normal pace as a regular human being, you're not going to get in trouble.
Yeah, I understand that. That's an important distinction. If you start doing superhuman things like sending out 2,500 requests every single day, it's like, that's not really happening. You're using software to do that, and that's when LinkedIn starts to give you problems. Talk about the difference between your personal profile and your company profile and which one you focus more of your efforts towards.
So LinkedIn historically has always preferred to show profiles on the feed. So if you post content, LinkedIn will not show your company page content unless somebody's following you or unless somebody is using LinkedIn's ads to promote that content on their page. Now, LinkedIn wants you to use their ads. So if you go on the feed, you'll see somebody's post and you'll see an ad. And that ad is usually somebody's company page. And then you'll see a few more pieces from somebody's profile, and then you'll see another ad. So you will often not see pages unless you're following lots of pages that update very often. You're probably not going to see pages on the feed. And so I always recommend for people to leverage their profile because ultimately when you're networking, you don't network with a company. if you're on LinkedIn to network, no one's networking with your company. They're networking with you as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So your personal brand is much more important than your company page. Of course, it's important to have a good company page, and it's important to have it updated because people that are looking for jobs or people that are looking into your company are going to click on there, they're going to Google it, or they're going to click on there from your profile. And you want to make sure that it's updated, it's fresh, it's relevant, it's nice, and so on. But that's not where you should be putting most of your efforts in. From a networking standpoint, you need to put most of your efforts on your profile.
Makes sense. Other than LinkedIn, what are some of the platforms that you're seeing success on? And if you could give us a breakdown in terms of what each platform is best for, I think that would probably be very beneficial for the listeners.
Yeah, so LinkedIn is for B2B, for networking, for referrals, for inspiration, for mastering your influence as an authority in your industry. Facebook is heavy for friends and family, for fun, for food. So if you want to create a community, a warm community, a B2C community, Facebook is very powerful. I'm not saying B2B doesn't happen on Facebook, but Facebook is more, your personal connections rather than your business connections. Although I'm connected to a lot of people from a business standpoint, but it's often people are talking about their family, their friends, what they're doing, where they're skiing, all that type of stuff. That's Facebook. Instagram is more images based and some video based. So Instagram is there if you're into art, interior design, you're a foodie, all that type of stuff, fashion, travel, luxury stuff. So that's, people are doing very artistic stuff on Instagram. So if you're more into that world, you want to be involved in Instagram. If you're like a food blogger, Instagram does really well. If you're into interior design or a travel blogger, Instagram will do extraordinarily well. If you're just, a B2B company or whatever, Instagram, not so much, right? It's not really going to be so much. Also, Instagram tends to be a little bit younger. Facebook tends to be a little bit older. If you want to reach people that are teenagers, TikTok is really hot. Realize that every teenager that exists today will one day be a decision maker at a company. So you want to be able to look at TikTok, see what it's about, and see the way that people are going to be thinking in 5 or 10 years from now that are going to be decision makers at companies. 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds, even 21-year-olds are using TikTok and Snapchat heavy. So, look at the way the micro content they're posting on there. If you want to reach celebrities, if you want to reach journalists, if you want to reach professional speakers, people that are popular, if you want to see the news, you want to use Twitter. That's what Twitter is about. Twitter wasn't always about that, but now basically that's what it's become. If you want to be able to engage with video, YouTube is very powerful. It's the number one, at some point it was the number one search engine on the internet after Google. So people are searching a lot on YouTube. So YouTube is very popular from a social media standpoint as well, because people leave comments and they share things and so on. And they like videos and dislike videos and so on. So YouTube definitely has that power from a video standpoint. So definitely do not ignore, if video is important to your business, do not ignore YouTube. Have a YouTube channel, make sure it's updated and so on. So those are the basic channels that are popular. Now, there are many other micro channels out there, but those are the basic ones. If you want to talk about one-on-one and group chat, the most popular one right now that's really burning up, it's called WhatsApp. Do you have a WhatsApp account?
I do have a WhatsApp account. What is it mostly used for? For the community component, using getting groups together and having direct messaging to those groups?
Yeah, so it's mostly used. So the way that I see it happening right now, lots of families are using it with groups, but I also see niche groups being created. Like I have an engaged LinkedIn group. I have an accountability group on WhatsApp. I have quite a few different groups that I'm part of that are very active, and people are much more on WhatsApp than they are going to be on LinkedIn. There's a lot less noise on WhatsApp. And WhatsApp also has the ability to do video and audio chat internationally. So lots of people use that instead of making phone calls. They'll just send me a WhatsApp voice call or a WhatsApp video call. So WhatsApp's really, really powerful. So definitely don't ignore WhatsApp. I probably send about 100 to 200 WhatsApps a day. And this is with business people. You could also see who looked at your stuff on WhatsApp. So, updating your WhatsApp status. I don't know if you knew this, but you can actually update your WhatsApp status as well. So I make sure to update my WhatsApp status as well. And people actually respond to that and let me know. I know plenty of people that literally WhatsApp is the only social media platform they use.
Interesting. So yeah, I appreciate you going to that level of detail. There's been just so much content in this conversation already. I'm sure that a lot of listeners are just having their mind blown. I've learned a ton. Let me just do a circle back on some of those because I really want to share my experience also. The Facebook, I have felt like the algorithm is really leaning itself towards the private groups in particular. So if you have a brand and you want to establish a lot of community with people that already follow your brand, a private group is a great place to do that. A lot of people especially the post-millennials, start to feel like they're over Facebook because there's so much noise, especially when the political stuff gets really, really heightened. That's all you see. In the private groups, you're really protected from that, at least depending on the type of private group that it is. I have found that Instagram is very good for selling products. It just seems to be the case that people are very much more eager to click and buy. Now, the people that are clicking and buying, as an example, we don't market on Instagram for our investments. We feel like the client base is a little bit too young to be ready to start investing $50, $100, $300,000. But when we start to market my recent book, which is Raising Capital for Real Estate, that is probably going to be the main outlet that we focus on, because the people that are more interested in raising money as opposed to being accredited investors already will likely be more on Instagram. And I do actually use WhatsApp for a coaching program I'm in. So the whole coaching cohort is actually in the WhatsApp group. So agree with everything you said. Just wanted to add those additional details.
Cool. That's really awesome. Yeah.
So let's talk about results. I'd love to hear kind of a big win about all this work that you've put in, all this time you put in, all this content that you've created. How has this impacted your business?
So in the past year, 2019, we've closed around $750,000 in new business directly from LinkedIn activity because of my current connections, my relationships that see me and they hear from me on a daily basis. I always tell people, I don't want to go viral. I want 1,000 people to see me 1,000 times a year, but I want 1,000 of the right people to see me 1,000 times a year. So that's number one. So that's actual revenue generated in 2019. But the beauty is that in 2020, we have a $2 million pipeline that we generated as a result of all the work that I did, the 5 million people that saw me in 2019, we have a $2 million pipeline for 2020. Now, the problem is that because of what's going on right now in the pandemic, our business is slated to lose 50% of our recurring revenue next month as a result of so many people going out of business and a complete halt in the economy. But I am very positive because we have so much potential revenue that we can't necessarily tap into right now while things are crazy. But a lot of things are going to close this year, and we're going to continue to plow through, get back what we lost, and keep growing into 2021.
Awesome. Well, I think that is a very good note to end it on. Joe, I can't thank you enough. Before we jump off, though, let the listeners know how they can learn more about you. You mentioned your website a few times. Mention that, and then also how they can learn more about your firm and obviously connect with you on LinkedIn.
Yes. So if you want to check me out on LinkedIn, what you need to do is go to www.joelinkedin.com because you probably don't know how to spell my last name. So keep it really simple, JOE, LinkedIn.com, and you will get to my profile. Connect with me. Make sure that you mention that you heard me on Hunter's podcast, and this way I will accept your connection request. I do have thousands of people that are waiting to connect with me on LinkedIn, so I want to make sure that I accept you, and the only way for me to do that is if you leave a quick note letting me know that you heard me on this podcast. The second thing that you can do is you can go to evergreen.com. Now, Evergreen has a particular spelling. It's not like EVER, it's EVYRGREEN.com. And over there, we have a link to our upcoming webinar that you can watch for free, and also our replay to our most recent webinar. And of course, if you want to take our course, we have options there for you to invest in a course there. So check out those two things. On my profile, I have an extended summary with the 7 things that you can find out about me. So make sure to read my About section on my LinkedIn profile. I have my books there, and I have my podcast, and I have links to everything that I do, including my company. So please go to my LinkedIn profile, check it out. And if you're here and you want me to support you, you need a LinkedIn strategy. We craft custom LinkedIn strategies for people. We call it the LinkedIn Authority Blueprint. So if you need support with the blueprint, if you need any advice, kind of like the advice that I gave Hunter, I'm happy to review your profile with you. I'm happy to have a conversation. I have 15-minute conversations with over 1,000 people a year. That's only 5 a day, by the way. So it sounds like it's a lot, but it's not. And so I'm happy to have a 15-minute strategy call with you and kind of review what you're doing. You can find out more information about how to book a strategy call on my profile on LinkedIn. Hunter, thank you so much for having me on the program.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks again.
Boom.
All right, listeners, thanks for checking out the episode. As always, the contact information for our guest will be available in the show notes page, which is hosted on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher. Don't forget, if you want access to some of the free goodies that I'm talking about at the beginning of these episodes, like free ebooks, weekly investor emails, and articles about some of the most important investment-related topics, make sure that you have created an account with CFC because this stuff is automatically available. You can do this by going to cashflowconnections.com and signing up as an an accredited investor. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at hunterthompson@cashflowconnections.com. Thanks again.